In this daily drop, it's part 3 on my journey to finding markup and annotation tools. This one focuses on something called ScreenBrush, so let's go. All right, everybody, the sun has set, and I am here in what I'm calling day 4 of this journey of finding tools that can be effective and used for marking up and annotating whatever. And I need to shave. I'm just embracing where I am right now, and we're going to get into some things. And I'm going to try to do this in one take. It might be a little bit sloppy. We'll see how it goes. But basically, I started to think after yesterday's episode about other solutions that may not require a separate tablet in the sense of an iPad or an Android tablet, but maybe a drawing tablet, because I want to have the ability to mark things up quickly and easily, but not necessarily be tied to that kind of workflow. Now, I'm not discounting what I did yesterday. One of the things that I love about that workflow, and if you haven't watched that episode, please do, is that everything is done directly over HDMI. So the device becomes just a switchable input. So you're doing everything on that iPad or that tablet, and it just becomes whatever's happening on there, and you're pushing it to whatever you're going to be pushing it to as a source, which is actually really nice in an app like Ecamm Live, because it just becomes essentially another camera angle, and then you can do everything on the tablet. But I did want to explore some more, maybe not as much as I actually have. And what I did find was one solution which I don't like, which is a mouse cursor solution, and then this one, which is called ScreenBrush. So you may or may not have used this before, and of course this is a Mac OS solution. But what I'm doing right now is I'm again recording A camera here. I've got B camera, which is the overhead look, which you can see I have an old Wacom or Wacom tablet. It's an Intuos 3. I've got a Magic trackpad here, and that's really mainly so I don't have to reach over to my MacBook Pro to select things if I want to. It's not a requirement for this workflow, but it's nice to have. And then I'm recording my screen over here, which has a PowerPoint presentation and also a feed of Ecamm Live, so you can see that, because the whole trick here is to be able to mark up or annotate what is on a screen or what you're trying to show, but have that get pushed live. Now, I wish I could do this directly with scenes inside of Ecamm Live. I've tested it. It will not recognize the ScreenBrush stuff. ScreenBrush is great for live kind of education. So if I'm in a situation where I want to push something to an external monitor, I can do that all day long. But once I want to do it in a live stream scenario, there's a lot of lives in there, then I've got to probably do it the way I figured out here. So let's take a look at it. So up here in the toolbar here is ScreenBrush, and I just want to show you that. And it's a pretty deep application for something like this. And what I've done is I set it up where when you start it up, it's in what's called ghost mode. So your cursor and everything that you're doing works normally. And then once you exit that, now it's activated. And you can see here my cursor has a little dot on it. And that corresponds to how you're setting up and what color you're using for your actual brush. And there's different ways to do that, and the size of your brush. And you can add text, and you can change it so that you're drawing arrows that are fancy or just lines and so on and so forth. And then just so you can take a little peek under the hood, let me just go ahead and show you how deep this thing is in terms of customization. Pretty deep in terms of customization, I would say. And while it's not set up where it can just work directly in an app, meaning you can just say, I want to be able to see this inside of the app, it's sort of universal. It's still very customizable. So I'm just going to go ahead and, Let me undo that, and I'm going to go over here and just close this menu out. There we go. And you can see here that I did draw something. So I can just come down here. There's a number of ways I can do it, but just say clear screen and that goes away. And I'm just going to take my tool set here for ScreenBrush and put that over here on the right. And by the way, this is a $5 app. So not a lot of money in terms of that. So what we have here is a keynote presentation with a number of slides that will be for the live stream. And the last one being a QuickTime movie, just to show you how this all works. And one of the things that I figured out is that what I'm going to be doing in Ecamm Live is sharing a screen. So whatever is on this particular display here is what's going to show up. I'm not going to have, obviously, this Ecamm component down here at the bottom, but it will just be this filling up the entire screen. But over here under play, I'm going to keep play in window, because when you go to full screen, weird things happen. And just for live streaming and showing things, I think this is going to be the best scenario or the best workflow. And so that's how I have it set up there. And let's just go back to one of these slides here. And then down here, the reason I have Ecamm being shown is because I want you to see that once I start to share my screen, what's happening and the fact that ScreenBrush is showing up. Okay, so one other thing I want to show you also is that I have some of these express keys here on the tablet program. So for instance, when I say exit ghost mode, and then I press this express key, the one on the top left, it will go back to a regular cursor. Press it again, it'll go back into ghost mode. I also have this top right one set up to this flashlight style, so you can see that. And I'm still working out the zooming thing. I think maybe it's because I have an older tablet that I'm having issues with that. And then this other button or express key here on my tablet is programmed to essentially toggle between what they call freeze mode on and off. And I'll just show you what that looks like. Freeze mode off, which is here, means that when I'm drawing on something, it's going to disappear over a period of time. It's going to fade out. I have it at the slowest that it's going to. But if I now turn on freeze mode and I draw something, you'll see that it will stay up on the screen. It will not fade out. So I can toggle between those two if I want. And once I activate it again, it will actually fade out whatever's on the screen. And there's a lot of customization and preferences in terms of what you can do with that. But that just gives you the general idea of how I'm using the tablet itself when I'm using ScreenBrush. And this gives me, now that I've set it up, a lot of flexibility, because once I turn off the actual ghost mode, I can go in here and I can, select things, and it makes it a lot easier for me to move things around. And you get the basic idea in terms of what I can do here with the tablet overall. So again, the Magic Trackpad is really just an optional. It doesn't have to be here. If you had your computer right here, you could just reach over and use that. Most of the stuff that I want to do, I can actually do with the pen and the tablet anyway. And I just want to show you that there is another way of doing this. So if I switched over to a different tool over here and I activate ScreenBrush again, this one is quite a bit different. It draws an arrow from the point that I start drawing it. And this is the particular type of arrow I decided to draw, but that's also very customizable inside of the app. I can change it so that it's a different color very easily if I want, or I can go to this kind of rainbow effect here where it's constantly changing the color which just looks a little bit more dynamic. I'm not sure it's something that I would use all of the time, but now let's take a look at that and see how it translates in terms of pushing to a live stream, because right now, all we're looking at inside of Ecamm Live is a camera, but this is the share screen here. And if I click on that, and you can see I can choose which screen I'm sharing. I'm going to share this particular screen. And I just want to first show you that what I'm doing actually translates to the actual live stream itself. Now, because I am trying to show you that Ecamm Live screen, when I start to change the size of the keynote, that's obviously being reflected because I'm pushing that entire screen to the live stream. So let's just go ahead and go in here. I'll activate ScreenBrush again, and we can go ahead and just say, let's focus on this particular area right here. We've got this light that's coming up over here, and you can see in the bottom right that that shows up. I can turn the freeze mode on and maybe go back to a normal kind of squiggly tool and say, let's go ahead and we'll choose just a standard, something that will show up very well over here. And I'll say, if we wanted to focus on this area on the floor and we wanted to go ahead and slow down the light maybe over here, and I basically want to avoid shooting into this area right here because that's going to look ugly on screen, I could do that. And then again, the way I have it set up, it just makes it very easy to go through all of these different things. And then shortcut, freeze mode off, and then all of a sudden everything starts to fade out. I don't know if I'm going to keep it this way in terms of the way it works, but you get the general idea. So now, of course, what I would normally do is I wouldn't have Ecamm Live here, and I would be taking up the entire screen with the actual keynote itself. And then if I go down here, because I'm using Keynote, again, maybe not the perfect solution, but it does do the things I want it to do. When I press play here, I'm going to see the controls that I want to see so that I can scrub through the video to the place that I want to, and we'll freeze on that. And again, now I can go in and I can activate ScreenBrush, and I can say, we've got these two SkyPanel 360s here. We've got two of them that are up here as well. And these are basically cross-keying Tim Cook here. And of course, we could then get to another part of the video where we're seeing that shot from this right here, which is our hero camera. And that's all, as you saw before, being translated to the live stream. It will be when I do the live stream on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And we'll give this a test in real time and make sure that it's all working the way it's supposed to. But it's a different workflow. It's not completely unlike what I did yesterday. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both of them. I think that the iPad going through HDMI has a little bit more of an immediacy to it. It's a little bit easier in terms of it being tactile, using a combination of just, touching the screen and using the Apple Pencil. But this, I think, keeps you in the ecosystem of your actual computer system without having to do that. But you're still using an external device. You're using a drawing tablet, and these are all different ways to do things. I do think that the big takeaway is that ScreenBrush is, at least for me on Mac OS, a definite buy for $4.99 and something that I will be using educationally. I use some of the accessibility tools in the OS for teaching, sometimes for zooming in and zooming out, but I think that this is going to allow me to get a little bit more specific when I want to point things out. Mouse cursor apps are great because, they put some focus on a particular area, but they don't let you do what you can do with ScreenBrush. It's probably what's being used for Wandering DPs, podcasts, and that kind of content. I'm not 100% sure, but based on now looking at those episodes and what I'm seeing, my guess is it's probably ScreenBrush. I might be wrong. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.